Okay, we're live. Yay, we made it. Sorry, guys, there was some technical issues going on with StreamYard, and it wasn't letting me go live. But here we go. We were able to recover. So good to be here with you guys. Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Lunchtime Chats. And this will be our last Lunchtime Chats for quite some time. We're taking a bit of a hiatus. That doesn't mean that I will not be coming live anymore. It just means I won't be coming live in this format, in this way, at noon on every Thursday. So I'm so glad to be here with you guys. Hello, dear sister Sherry and Susan. Shanti, good to see you. Bev, thank you. You guys let me know that the sound is coming through okay. Let me know if the if there's a bad echo or anything like that. I can get a little bit closer to the microphone or I can make some adjustments. So go ahead and let me know how that is. All right, we have some very interesting things to talk about today. The collective field has been going berserk, absolutely berserk in a chaotic way, but also there's a lot of deep wisdom. There's a lot of reveals happening right now. And I want to talk about those. I want to talk about the keys of getting out of the 4D noise so you can really focus on what's important to you and do your part in creating this reality, dreaming this world into being. You and I, we have capacities, we have abilities that, we're working at really embracing and creating from. And the collective field is working overtime to, say, create distractions and to get away from that. So before I dive in, for all of you who are new, my name is Christina. I am a consciousness acceleration expert, and we are here to talk about those topics and issues that are significant for starseeds, way showers, new paradigm visionaries. This time at the chats has really been an evolution into providing keys and personal liberation and freedom. I always do to the best the best that I can to provide liberated perspectives to these pieces that really hang us up, lock us down, their narratives, their disinformation, their programs, all sorts of things. Start, anywhere from everyday life, practical stuff to, the more expanded cosmic practical applications of our consciousness. So I'm glad to have done these chats with you guys for so long. And I'm really happy to close up this chapter with some very significant liberation pieces for you all. So many of you here were part of Dream Clinic yesterday. So I know that as a collective, we've learned the wisdom of disconnecting from media, social media, commercial media, mainstream media, alternative media. There's a great wisdom in disconnecting from all of those different media sources, including especially social stuff, because of the nature of the algorithms that create a distorted sense of reality. But there's I've been drawn to it lately in different ways, but I don't go head on. I don't really tune into news outlets. I tune into particular podcasters that I feel like do their best to have a balanced. When I say balanced, I mean they ask critical questions out loud in their processing of reacting to events. So one of them is dear brother Osmond Gold. You guys, even my kids think that's hilarious that I would ever listen to him. He has a very different perspective. He's from a completely different world. He is like a gamer. He lives online. He lives on the computer, and his whole life is that. And I appreciate listening to his perspectives and reactions to things, because it's so different. He's so different from my kind of lifestyle and where I come from. And I appreciate the difference in opinion, but I also realize that there's a lot of common sense stuff that overlap. And I appreciate that. And there's another gentleman that I listened to, Warren Smith, who was made famous by publishing a practice video with one of his students, just getting him warmed up for recording a video project, a video project that had to do with the school that he taught at. And it just so happened he was on a controversial topic, and all he did was really ask questions of the student to get him to, think on his feet, and critical thinking type approach to a situation. I think it was the J.K. Rowling thing. And it became so controversial, and it was viral, and he didn't even state any opinions. He was just asking questions. Why this? Why that? And he got in a lot of trouble and ended up losing his job. So now he has his own channel where he goes over new stuff and asks questions. Yes, he is on the conservative side. But he's from my home state where I was born, and he's, a down to earth, I'm going to say down to earth country boy, small town boy. And I can relate to how he is. So that's how I'm exposed to news stories. And I will get to the announcements, Sherry. I'm not going to totally drop them. I'll get back to them, I promise. But there's something really exciting, guys. We had our dream clinic yesterday. We were tracking into some really interesting collective programs, templates, I'm going to call it. Now, if you guys aren't familiar with what a template is, I know you guys are, the ones that are listening live, but the people on the recording might not. A template is when you have a structured way something is presented. So like most people have been exposed to like templates with within software, it'd be like a document template where you just fill in the blanks. It organizes all the information and you just fill in the blanks to whatever specifically applies to you. Later in technology, it became like, the resume wizard or content wizard, stuff like this. It uses a template. But then there's also templates. You can think of them as like stencils. It's the same pattern. You can use different colors. You can use it upside down, sideways, flip it around. You can repeat it over and over again, and you can make all kinds of textures and whatever with these stencil templates. So template is a structured pattern that you can imbue with your creativity with some sort of medium and turn it into something that seems very unique. And in our dream clinic, we were onto a really interesting fourth dimensional template. And this template had to do with injuries to the neck. You guys know what I'm talking about, perhaps know what I'm talking about. I won't go into the details of that because I don't necessarily want outsiders to track into what we were doing specifically, but I do want to highlight the significance of the template. It's like a fractal of the 4D field. The program, the synthetic aspects of, I'm going to say, the simulation stuff that is over our 4D field, causing certain flavors of experience is, I think they used the template too many times, and now it's falling apart. And not long after, minutes. No, I think it was while we were in lab, there was a very interesting assassination that occurred, and that it has to do with a man named Charlie Kirk. Now it's all over the place. I don't need to go into the details. There's all sorts of things you can listen to learn more. But what's significant to me about that was that we were just working at dismantling, dissolving the ways in which our energy fields multidimensionally have been woven into a consciousness template meant to drain our life force energy. And while that was going on, there was yet another version of that same template getting enacted. And boy, are a lot of people investing their life force energy. So that template is getting revived. We're not in it, right? We're not in it, but the template is getting washed and repeated. And of course, very effectively getting revived by everybody's experience to the narrative. Guys, let me know if you can see the parallel. You can see what it is that I'm talking about. Now, I don't want to get too into details. Like I said, I don't really feel like this is something significant for the larger collective to trek into. But I do want to highlight this for people, that the 4D field fractalization is crumbling. And I feel like this is evidence of it. Yes, this particular piece is getting heavily invested, lots of life force energy invested into and animating the agenda behind it, which is distraction, energy drain, life force, you know what I mean? Misplaced life force focus. But at the same time, a lot of people are waking up to the shenanigans and are unplugging from it in the different ways that they can. So I want this episode to be giving the keys on how we invest our focus that doubles down our investment in the illusion delusions of the 4D field, and then what kinds of things we can invest our focus in to liberate us out of the 4D field. And the 4D field is a very powerful field. It's energy, it's emotion, and it's time. Time is something that has been used to limit our consciousness in a very big way. Yes, linear time, not just ways of keeping time, but linear time itself. It's an energy, it's a frequency. And when our minds are captured by linear time, we are very easily controlled with narratives that have a lot of emotional charge. So I want to give little things out there, what does it look like to double down our investment in linear thinking and linear time? And then also, what do we invest our focus on to step out of linear time into true freedom in being a sovereign, multidimensional being here to live your purpose? Okay. And the energy of truth has a big, big part to play in doing that, and you fulfilling your purpose. All right. But before I go into that, I just have a couple announcements I want to make for everybody. So if you guys want to access the recording of any of the free stuff that we do in Lightbody, which we have a huge component of serving the community at large, every single facilitator in our collective does a community service. We do something to support the collective for freedom, for cultivating grounded, centered awareness, this kind of thing. So the recordings of those are available in our community library. So I think it's called the Community Library Bundle. If you go to lightbodyacademy.com and click on the menu there of offerings, you'll find it. And it's a nominal fee, and you can have those recordings that are commercial free. It's private. You are not tracked. You can listen to it as you wish, fast forward, rewind, play over again. It's completely available for to that level without having to deal with any kind of public media stuff. So that is available. And then also I wanted to let everybody know we have an amazing ancestral clearing session coming up. It's coming on. It's called the Community Offer Bundle. There we go. Thank you, Sherry. And then we also have an excellent ancestor initiation happening this September around the 20th. This is near the equinox. And that is also, you can find that at our Lightbody Academy website. And this is an initiation into the new paradigm way, which means it's highly accelerated way of working with ancestors, working with the alchemy of ancestors, not just healing the patterns that have been burdening your people for generations, but also reaping the gifts from what also they have to offer, what's been carried on. So this is something really worthwhile for all of us to do. It not just liberates you personally from subconsciously held patterns, but it also liberates all of your people, going forward in time and backward in time. It's really worthwhile. And the registration for that is at a Lightbody Academy. And I believe right now, and Sherry, if I don't have this right, please correct me. I believe right now, if you sign up, you get a bonus clearing for clearing out the ancestral patterns that stem from mystery schools mystery schools that your soul's journey has connections to, limitations from, stuff like this. An example of interdimensional shenanigans that comes through mystery schools is that there's a time when we were part of mystery schools and they got corrupted. They began to fall, which means the initiation processes were being used as a vehicle to anchor in soul loss and trauma instead of reclamation and liberation. So many of you who've been doing this work for a while, I'm sure, have memories on some level of things like this. I know that I do, and it's been a lot of work because it's such a powerful mystical practice back then and now. It's a lot of work sometimes to unhook the things that have locked us up in those past mystery school interactions. Now, I'm not saying it's all bad. It's absolutely not, but there are key pieces that are flipped and reversed and express itself through our subconscious in a reversed way, as in a way that does not empower us, as in a way that does not get us in contact with the truth, the real truth. Okay, so this is why it's interesting to explore those avenues for yourself, and that clearing is a bonus thing that you have access to if you sign up now. All right. And then, just a couple more things. Okay, so in Lightbody, we have certain things available to help you dip your water into multidimensional activities and awakening. And one of them is we have a quantum activation coming up on Saturday. This is where we get together again as a group, as a collective. We clear out energies that are in the way of certain activations being offered by your higher self and your star family, so on and so forth. And that is going to be this Saturday. You go ahead and register the same way. If you want to be informed when these things happen, I suggest that you sign up for our newsletter, so you'll get the schedule of all of our free and paid events that are open to the community at large. And of course, coming up, if you really want to get your feet wet with and have lots of fun with other people, we have a tracking clinic coming up, and that is on Monday, and you can register for that through our I think it's our Acuity system. So that's again lightbodyacademy.com. So this is when you practice multidimensional tracking in groups. It is really so much fun, and of course you get an energy clearing out of it as well. So that's what we have going on, and let's go ahead and dive back in. The secrets of transcending the noise of the 4D field, the secrets of transcending linear time. All right, we have a dear Starshine commenting. Okay. Yeah, says those corrupt schools are now everywhere online. Discernment is very much required. I couldn't agree with you more. Absolutely. And a lot of it is that there is this regurgitation of misinformation, or I should say, misinformation is not the right way to say it. It's more about distortions and misunderstandings. There's a regurgitation of distortions and misunderstandings, and it's because the people doing it don't know. They haven't had that deep inquiry, or they don't care, or they just think that they're right. There's all sorts of ways. But, I have to say, when it comes to waking up multidimensionally, it is not easy, because as Richard Hoagland coined the phrase many years ago, the lie is different at every level. So at each time you open up to another level of your awareness, the distortion is different than the level before. And this is something that is treacherous to traverse, especially when you are alone, when you do not have, or you're in an echo chamber, when you do not have a group of people that truly have a committed pursuit of the truth. And it's not what we think the truth is. It's the actual energy of the truth that literally liberates you and melts away the distortions. It's so powerful. It cuts through the distortions, and you can see the truth for that next level. And the truth of that next level of who you are and how that particular nesting doll of reality works, the more liberated you become. So this is a tricky terrain to navigate for sure. So I don't want to come off like I'm criticizing all these other mystery schools in the sense they're all wrong. Many of them are very sincere people that have been seeking the truth their entire lives. It's just they got caught up in some of the bait. A lot of it's ego driver bait, especially the I Am Special program. The I Am Special program is a sickness that is prolific through human subconsciousness. And this is done on purpose. The I Am Special program is when a higher dimensional being that's not interested in your liberation and freedom, but is there fulfilling their purpose, which is to hold a distortion in place. And they tell you that no one else can do it but you. You are the special one. You are the one that holds the key. And because of that, ... Right. And yes, we are all special. We all are snowflakes for sure in our expression of our purpose, but it's not in the way that they present it. We are special in the landscape of the we game. It's how we express our purpose. It's not that we're the only ones. I mean, there's so many people that get caught up with being the reincarnation of Mary, the reincarnation of Jesus, the reincarnation of Buddha, or, whatever. They are the one soul galactic commander, you know what I mean? And the fact is, it's not true. It's something to feed the ego so they will say yes to something that will keep them, with the blinders, because everything, we are infinite, and everything we wake up to has something else beyond it. So this healing journey has no destination. This healing journey is about clearing away enough of distraction and noise so you can feel the truth, cultivate a compass for the truth. So when it's in front of you, you can recognize it, okay, and be liberated by it. Versus for a long time, the truth is a scathing truth. It's a painful truth. It's one that, we run from, or we make wrong, or we blame, or whatever. That is the illusion delusion. That is the slavery. So when you don't like it, when someone speaks truth to you, and I don't mean the ego driver truth, I'm talking about the bigger truth, your compass is skewed. You're there when you crave the truth, even when it's scathing. And especially when it's scathing, there's a gratitude that you're able to be present and be there for it. Now, we don't always recognize the full truth at the moment that we hear it. Very often we have to reflect. We have to get first through the emotion and the pain of it. Then we can wake up to the liberation. But that's the noise of the 4D. Those are the constructs within the subconscious and these fields. So it's a very sophisticated system that keeps consciousness locked down. So it's not a magic bullet just, to wake up out of it. We have to traverse very, very sophisticated, complicated events, and use very wise discernment in order to climb out of it. I have my level of discernment, and there's times when I'm wrong. And there's times when realizing when I'm wrong, it's scathingly painful. But I'm definitely grateful that I have a community of people that will say the truth to me as they see it. Okay. And when you learn how to track multidimensionally, it's a practice in really letting go of the ideas of right and wrong and only focusing on the feelings, because the feelings and the sensations are the only way to get through the delusions of the 4D, 5D, 6D fields. Yes, 6D fields have corruption in them too. There are geometries and codements that have corrupted our light body. And that's not because we're a victim. That's because there was some part of us that thought it was very interesting at the time to experience. But that's not a truth until you wake up to that truth for yourself. So part of what we're doing here in Lightbody is I would say very effectively opening up a field for us to experience the wisdom that can be known but not told. So I can speak these things out loud till I'm blue in the face, and I can repeat it over and over and over again. And intellectually, you might think you understand it, but it's actually not integrated wisdom until the experience happens. And then you have your depth of insight that comes from that experience. your depth of insight, not mine, not your neighbors, not your friends, yours, and you value it. Okay. That is when you know you've crossed that threshold into integrating that deep wisdom and knowledge that can be known and not told. Many traditions would put that in the category of ancestral wisdom and mystery. Okay, so let's go over the kinds of lifestyle habits that keep our consciousness locked into 4D field consciousness. Okay, so the 4D traps. The biggest, the most obvious one I already talked about. These are emotional narratives of injustice, emotional narratives that trigger a reason to fear or blame a person or group of people. Okay. Now, this is a energetic structure that is in our fourth dimensional field that is very, very powerful, and it has been used and abused for, I'm going to say, epochs and eons of time. Before we had social media, before we had, the modern, I'm going to say the modern type of society, it was used through ceremony, through theater, but also ceremony, blood magic, other sorts of sorcery and shenanigans. A great movie that hides in plain sight how these beings that have been keepers of this 4D field, many people know them as the Anunnaki, and I'm not painting the Anunnaki as good, bad, right, or wrong. I'm just saying that they have strategies and techniques to influence humanity to take action in the direction that they want, that serves their agenda. And the movie that reveals this so clearly, so blatantly, is the 1981 version of Clash of the Titans. Now, I've talked about this before, and you guys can watch Clash of the Titans. I think it's for free on one of the video streaming platforms. Okay. And of course, you get to see all these characters in their super young form. But I just watched it a couple of days ago, so that's fresh in my mind. There's Tetha. All right, I can't remember the name of the goddess, but she says, I will make sure that all of my priests have dreams and omens, so they will enact a particular kind of curse on the princess. Okay, they will hold in place her will, which is to curse the princess. So, and there's other tells like this where they specifically talk about how they influence humans to have certain perspectives, to have certain ideas, and to take certain actions. And this was back in 1981, guys. This was hidden in plain sight, but this is exactly how it works. When you know how to use the magic of the 4D field, it is powerful. Human emotions are powerful. Okay. There's another thing that I was sent. I think it was it might have been an Instagram reel where the student came home and told their parents about an exercise they did in history class. And in what the teacher did, he says, okay, I'm going to whisper in everybody's ear, and I'm going to tell you if you're a normal person or if you're a witch. And no one knows. No one's going to know who I whispered what, whose ear I whispered what into. And then after he did that, he says, okay, now each of you guys form a group, form a community. And if any of you have a witch in your community, you're all going to be condemned. And of course, it brought out cliques happened, and there was people stayed in their tight knit group of, social people where they feel they could trust, which, cliques happen in school, and this kind of thing happened. And then when towards the end of the exercise, when everybody was settled into their groups, and it turns out people got kind of mean, right? When people were all sorted out in their groups, he says, okay, the witches, raise your hand. And nobody raised their hand. And the students were convinced that people were lying, and they were all pointing fingers. Oh, this person's lying, that person's lying, la 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 la. And then the teacher spoke up, and he said, "Well, in reality, guys, nobody's the witch." Okay, so he set up a narrative that everybody bought into, and then they played it out as if it were real. And then that's how it goes. That's how the manipulation goes. Emotional manipulation is very, very powerful, and it just creates chaos and confusion. And this is one of your signs of being manipulated: the chaos, the confusion, the anger, the blaming. Okay. And the powers that be, both in body, that have a biosuit, that are, walking around incarnated in this realm, and beings in the unseen realms, they know this magic very, very well and have been using it for a very long time. So emotional narratives that trigger injustice is a big one right now. Let's just take a look at our political climate since 2017, right? It's been going on hardcore for a while. And there's a lot of people who justify hating and blaming other people and other groups of people. And actually, I've experienced this. There are people who've expressed to me that I'm, they don't like me, or I'm not to be trusted because I'm white. It's like they just assume that I'm a certain kind of way without really getting to know me. There was this one gal, I remember I had an issue with the speeding thing. I don't like to speed. Well, I travel a lot, guys. So hitting deer, hitting animals, getting into really sticky situations. I've learned my lesson about, driving with caution and really respecting life, and that chaos happens. I've almost died a few times in that setting. So I don't speed. I speed a little bit, but not like, I don't go like, 80 and a 55 or 50 and a 25. I'm cognizant of people's neighborhood and what, speeding traffic does to their quality of living, all this stuff. So I don't do that. But I was in a caravan following someone, and she was like a speed demon. And I just wasn't going to do it. And not only, I'm so glad I chose not to do it, because I looked behind me and I was like, gosh, I think this is a cop. And it turned out to be an undercover cop car that was behind me, so it was a good choice not to speed. So we arrive at our destination, and I'm like, hey girl, I was like, I already asked you for not to, super speed going to this place. And the people in the car also said they didn't want her to speed. And she did anyway. And her first comment to me was like, what do you care? You're white. Like, what trouble are you going to get into because you're white? I'm like, everybody gets speeding tickets, people. It doesn't matter. Like, there's some kind of narrative fed in her mind that because I was a white girl in the country, I don't have problems, breaking the law or getting pulled over or whatever. And, I'm just here to dispel that completely. Everybody gets tickets. You drive in a way that is against the law, you will get pulled over. If you're lucky, you might get off with a warning. I haven't been let off on a warning in decades. Okay, I get tickets. And anyway, that's just an example of the kind of, distortions that happen in people's minds when they have a narrative that they have a strong emotional attachment to, a strong emotional identity with. Okay, and this is something that pulls out aspects of us that are locked in a frame that we are absolutely sure we are right about. And that's the next piece. When you are absolutely positive that you are right and the other is wrong, you have taken the bait. You are now locked into a 4D construct. It's a construct. It's not just you and your emotions. There is a grid, a consciousness grid that you are literally weaving your energy into that is so powerful, like a rushing river of water, that it takes you away. And sciences talked about, social sciences have talked about the mob mentality. People do things they normally would not do when they're in the context of a mob. That is the result of the energy of the 4D field. It is really powerful. It will take over your solar plexus. It literally will take over your free will. Okay. So these are not little things these are the really big, obvious things that I'm talking about, how it locks us in, and getting into things that maybe are not as obvious. All right. A piece in here is, this one's really simple. Actually, most people would not put two and two together with this. It's pretty mundane. Trading time for money. Getting paid hourly for your work. I know. And most, not all, but most people think about getting paid hourly for their work. And that actually energetically traps your consciousness into that field, that 4D field. Now, those of you who are entrepreneurs, those of you that have taken any kind of coaching on how to level up and leverage your business, one of the very first things they talk to you about is no longer trading time for money. Instead, you are trading results for money. And if you achieve those results in a very short amount of time, good for you. And if it takes even longer amount of time, still good for you, because you are delivering your result. You're not promising to spend 8 hours on this and getting a result. So it has to, you see, there's when you lock it in time, your efficiency, your creativity, your brilliance doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If you're creative, you're brilliant, and you're effective, and you can get something done in 10 minutes that takes other people 2 hours, you get rewarded for that by the universe. The universe, Pachamama, Mother Nature, rewards intelligence, rewards creativity, rewards, what's that called? Spontaneity and being able to improvise. The natural world rewards that kind of skill. Hunters, great example, the hunter-prey. The better hunter you are, which more skills you have, the more successful you're going to be as a hunter. The more you're going to be able to provide for your pride, for your family, for your village. Okay. So this is not a new idea that I'm introducing. This is an old one. Okay. Another one is orientating the flow of your day to the clock. This seems rather obvious, but it's something that throws us off, because we are paying more attention to the linear clock and not to how we feel, what our body wants right now, what is needed in this moment. Okay. And a good example would be eating. You're eating because it's time to eat, not because you're hungry. You're waking up because your alarm clock says it's time to wake up. Okay, this is allowing the mechanisms of linear time dictate how you operate in the world, your circadian rhythms, your inspiration, your focus, all this stuff now is dictated by a clock instead of the natural flow of what is needed, what you want, what's desired in that moment. It disconnects us from our soul's desire, because we have to do our checklist, click, 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 right? And yes, we get a dopamine hit when we accomplish things like that, but it doesn't get us necessarily closer to our purpose. Okay. Now, I'm not to say routine does not have its value. It absolutely is valuable. Routine is part of our nature. Habits is part of how our system works. But developing habits according to your natural flow, okay, discipline according to your natural flow, that is very effective. And of course, it's a skill, like everything else, that we have to learn over time, and when I say time, over cycles, unfoldments. Another thing that we do that locks us into linear time and shuts down certain things within our throat is waking up into an alarm. Waking up to an alarm jars the system. Okay. So now, I understand the practicality of that. I understand all of those. I understand why people do this. It's a necessity for a lot of people, because a lot of people, the only peaceful, enjoyable time of their day requires, or is part of that, is staying up late at night, even though you need to wake up in the morning for something. I understand there's a trade-off to this, but that just feeds the disempowerment. That's a cycle that we get locked into, and it just feeds the disempowerment. It feeds the chaos and the disjointedness of our circadian rhythms, of our inner flow. Okay, so these things take time to recognize how it's affecting you, and then it takes really consistent, committed strategy to getting out of it. Now, I really lucked out in the sense that, I had a lifestyle for a very long time where I woke up because my babies were crying, woke up before I did. And there were times when I would wake up before my babies woke up, and there was no going to sleep. And this is how my day operated. It was according to the flow. And there was times when my kids did go to go to school, and we had to do that cycle, but I wasn't happy. They weren't happy. It was when we got to go with our own flow, did we feel much more at peace and at ease in the flow of our day. So we got to spend a lot of time at the park. We went, we just had fun. We had fun, enjoyed life, enjoyed nature. And that is another facet to stepping outside of time, is spending a significant amount of your time, tension, of focus in nature. Now, if you can be in nature, you are one of those lucky few. If you don't have a natural space, a nature space to visit, you can bring nature into your home. You can have plants. You can surround yourself with pictures of nature. You can intend to connect with the waters, connect with the trees energetically, because of this 4D field. It can actually serve to your benefit by using the field in that way. So there are lots of ways to address this. Disconnecting from your dreams. That is another thing that deeply affects our capacity to step outside of time. When we start dismissing and diminishing the subtle things that are happening inside of us, those are key cues for us to be listening to step into the energy of not only our inner truth and our purpose, but our flow. So when we are trained to ignore all that, then the lifelines we have to remind us of the infinite, to remind us of the existence that's not dictated by time. When we're disconnected from that, we quite literally go into a sinking ship with no life preserver or lifeboats. So we're shooting ourselves in the foot when we develop a lifestyle like this. All right, and then when we spend a lot of time looking at synthetic light. This is another thing that will keep our minds trapped in the box of linear time. And this is really a problem right now, because the blue light that's in our technology impacts our brain. It impacts our occipital lobe, which is the part of our brain that translates light into images. And this is a blue light that stimulates different hormonal responses in our brain. It literally changes our brain chemistry, and it's really difficult to get out of the groove of that. For example, we all know cell phones and other technology is addictive. People are addicted. Take someone's cell phone away, and it won't be long before the meltdown occurs. So I'm on the phone a lot too. So I can't say I can't say that I've successfully transcended it, but I definitely challenge it. I don't bring my phone with me sometimes when I leave. There's times where I purposely, mindfully shut it off, put it away from me, do something else. Right. So I repurpose my focus in other ways intentionally, because I know how damaging the blue light is. Now, yes, there's blue light glasses, there's blue light blockers you can put on your screen, all very helpful. But still, it's the light is influencing our brain chemistry and reinforcing the walls of that invisible prison for our consciousness. All right, now let's get into, oh my gosh, time just flies. All right, I was late getting on here, so I'm going to go a little over, guys, because I want to talk about what does empower you. I want to talk about the things, easy things that you can do that will empower you to step outside the prison of linear time. Okay, number one, develop an ancestor, a connection with your ancestors. I know that may seem completely disconnected, but it's absolutely significant to stepping outside of time, because when you are developing a here and now relationship with your ancestors, you are transcending the illusion of death, the illusion of past. Okay. Our ancestors are infinite beings in biosuits. So that means that their consciousness exists outside of linear time. So when you are connecting with ancestors, immediate and or distance, you are engaging with an energy that is outside of time. You're engaging with consciousness that resides beyond linear time and space. So the more you engage in that, the more validating feedback loops you get from that, the more reinforcement you get for your subconscious about time actually doesn't matter. Okay. So this is a really big one. That's why I mentioned it first. Then we have, discipline the flow of your life according to how your natural tendencies are. For example, workouts, right? There's some people that thrive in morning workouts. If that's what you thrive on, great, do it. No big deal. My particular rhythm and flow didn't work that way. I would always be in the time and space right for workout in the early afternoon. So my natural day would just unfold. And then when it came time where it was right for my workout, I would look at the clock and it was almost the same time every day. It was like 1:15, 1:15-ish, give or take 10 or 15 minutes. But the fact is that I committed to myself to the discipline of doing my workout, and all that stuff, that my focus and attention and commitment was there. So like clockwork, I was there every day to do it. So the discipline according to your flow does work. It still takes commitment. It still takes discipline. It's just you're doing it according to the flow versus the clock telling you when it's time to do it. Okay? Because what happens when the clock goes off and you're not ready because there's some loose end in your world, in your life that still needs your attention. Now you missed your time. Now you're telling yourself you're late. Now you're feeling rushed. Now you're not really paying as much attention. You're not as present as you would be if that particular, if you didn't miss the time. You see what I mean? So it is more significant to how we show up in the world than maybe we give weight to. All right. Another thing, pay attention to the natural world and the natural timing of the cycles. The natural timing of the cycles are things like the equinox, the solstices. And you know what's really interesting? There's a lot of people that don't even know the difference, right? This is important because the solar cycles that the entire planet life force lives by, okay, are important for us to be tuned into because it's the rise and fall of energy. It's the rise and fall of light. Okay. It's the movement through dawning and setting. Okay. So the more you can be in rhythm, aware of the solstices and equinoxes. For example, we're approaching the fall equinox. You're practicing retuning your body and your systems to the natural movement of cycles. Being present and witnessing sunrises and sunsets. Very, very good for you. It's very good for us all. I talked about this before. It actually releases relaxation hormones in your body. It literally settles your nervous system and puts you in a healing rest and digest state. Okay. And you're tuned in with the rise and fall of the sun. And then you want to pay attention to your dreams. Pay attention to your dreams. Now, if you can remember the story of your dream, great, but that's not actually the key piece. The key piece is remembering the feeling you wake up with. The feeling you had. Like this morning, I woke up, I know that I dreamed. I felt like a lot of things happened. I felt like a lot of awarenesses opened up that weren't available before, but I couldn't tell you exactly the story of my dream, but I was aware that I was getting downloaded. I was working with downloads and opening up my consciousness to another level that wasn't available to me before. I was highly aware of that part. Okay. And that is the part that that impacts, right? So because I do the work in the dream realm in the way that we do, this is something that's very natural for me. I make time and space. I value it. I treasure it. It's something that is sacred. So that makes me more attuned to things going on. And that habit makes me more attuned to things going on inside, being aware of how I feel, being aware of subtle changes around me or in me, with certain reactions. It's sharpening my truth compass, right? Because I'm listening, I'm paying attention. So these are the kinds of things that we can do to enhance our capacity to exist and operate outside of linear time, and therefore liberate our consciousness by those confines. It literally is a prison. All right, dear sister Starshine says, this is dear Emmeline. She says, yes, nature cycles feel like such a big deal. I can't imagine not celebrating equinoxes and solstices. It feels so nourishing to be conscious of these milestones each season. Yes, see what she's describing. There's this feeling, the satisfaction feeling, a nourishing feeling inside when you are aware and you make note of those times. And also those are potent times to plant seeds of intention for yourself. Now it's not, like the manifestation teachings where you have to do. No. It's about being aware of what's inside, tuning in to what your soul wants and saying yes to it. That plants the energetic seed. And then the natural rise and fall of the life force energy nurtures that seed, helps that seed grow. When you plant flowers by seed, you plant the flowers, you water them. And if you're in a place that rains, rain has plenty of rain to sustain that, then you don't even need to think about it again until it sprouts and you're having a budding plant happen, right? It doesn't take life force, all this life force energy. You have to do it for yourself. Nature is working with you to grow that seed. Well, it's the same thing with our intentions. It's the same thing when we're listening inside and we're planting seeds to nurture and feed our own soul's desire. Why we're even here waking up every day in the first place. Okay. I guarantee you did not incarnate. I mean, incarnating takes a lot of work. Not everybody makes it, right? I guarantee that you did not incarnate so you can live the program, pay bills and taxes, and die. That was not your soul's purpose. That's a compilation of overlays on the natural world and the natural system. You see? Saw a really, really great clip this morning. There's this movie called Apocalypto. Now, I have a lot. I talk about past life mystery school issues. The commercials that the movie trailers that came out for that movie were so triggering to me at the time. I couldn't even watch the trailers. The trailers were absolutely so disturbing to me because it triggered some major power abuse that happened during the Mayan times, and it took me about 10 years to be able to actually watch the the trailer and not get triggered. And then finally I was able to watch the movie. So there's some key clips in that movie that are absolutely genius. Number one, the pace of it. The pace had left lots of time, lots of empty space for the subtle things to emerge into awareness. And this particular clip was hunters that, the breeze blew a certain way and they can tell there were people there, and they interacted with these people that were fleeing their lands, and they all looked, a lot of them were injured and scared, and they were terrified, and they were offering those hunters some fish so they can, with permission to pass through their territory. And of course, they said yes. And the young warrior was so concerned for these men, because this was a warrior that he was looking at that didn't look right. Something was wrong. And he said, pass with safety, be safe as you pass, something like this. Anyway, so they make it back to the village in this scene, and and they were still carrying this concern. He was still very disturbed by what he saw. And his father, who was a very strong and wise man with what they were depicting. And he said, you saw what was on those people. And he had to explain. He's like, no, I know that something wasn't right. And he said, it's fear. Fear is a sickness. It is a disease that kills your spirit. Fear can creep into your heart and rob you of your centeredness and peace. Now, he said, strike the fear from your heart. And this still did not fully satiate the warrior, because there was this awareness of, well, there's a reason why I have this feeling and I don't know what to do about it. And And he's telling to strike it down, but what if it comes back? What do we do about this thing that we've never seen before happen? And now these are the kinds of thoughts that a person has. They didn't say any of that. There was silence, and the father was still studying his son. And he says, tonight the elders will gather. Tonight the elders will go to the ancient cave, and we will consult the spirits, and they will guide us on what to do. So it was a way to, and what I saw in the scene, it was a way to address the unknown. There's something unknown coming. We don't know what it was. It serves us not to live in fear, to be in fear, to hold the fear. It serves us not to allow our peace to get robbed from our very heart, from our very being, because we can trust that the spirits, the Pachamama, the forest, always will show up for us when we call. And not only that, they love. There's a love and connection and care for us that is so deep. They will provide the way through this mystery. And guys, this is the note I'd like to leave you with, that the narratives that we've been fed have robbed us of our peace, of our connectedness to nature, to earth, to the Pachamama. But those of us who have been doing a lot of work and truly connected with the Great Mother know without a doubt the great love, the great care, the endless, unshakable, unconditional support that Mother Nature, Pachamama herself, has for us. And that is the way through this chaos, is always, always, always return to the Mother, return to the Pachamama. Rely on her, on nature, the life force giving being that is infinite in its life force giving way. Rely on her to provide. Rely on her to give you exactly what you need. Okay, now the part of the narratives that poison our collective is that our earth is dying. And what I need to say about that is that humanity is killing ecosystems with war, with this, that, and the other thing. Humanity's killing these ecosystems. But here's the truth about the earth. She will never stop making life, ever. She will never stop. New forests will grow. New plants can be planted. It takes our heart, soul connection, attention, nurturing to the soil, to the earth, to benefit from that. Feel inside your heart, is this the truth that I'm speaking? And let that guide you. Let that guide you through these times. There is lots of noise in this 4D field, and it's meant to create, just like a narcissistic relationship, it's meant to create chaos, confusion, unsureness, all this stuff, to doubt yourself. It's meant for that. Okay? So, yes, ecosystems do get destroyed, but new life always comes. And I'm not saying, not to be concerned, because we are all caretakers and guardians in some level of this reality. That is a responsibility that is on us all. Okay. I'm saying that no matter what happens, there's nothing we cannot recover from, heal from, bring healing and renewal to. The seasons, when you watch the seasons, especially in the north, everything dies every year and it comes back again. Okay. The areas with deciduous trees, all those trees become standing sticks. Very little life stirs in the forest during the winter. Frozen tundras are still, and yet life comes back. There are miracles going on right now. There are powerful places I'm talking about very powerful places that are coming online right now. And all of us have a role to play, and we're all getting called to those roles. We're all being called to those areas, to those lands, to those places. And yes, it might be scathingly painful to have to leave the life you've been in order to go to these places, or to, I'm going to say, reinvent another kind of life for yourself. But it's necessary, because there is a massive, massive, I'm going to say, cosmic chessboard getting set up right now. And all the pieces are getting put in place. And quite literally, spirit and the earth and the beings in the inner earth are speaking, saying the game of the epoch is about to unfold. And right now, the chessboard is getting set. All of us have a role. All of us have a role. None of you and I, are not irrelevant. We are powerful, infinite beings in a biosuit who are waking up to the truth of who we are. All right. Dear Sister Starshine has another comment. I feel that trees experience a year as a day to them. Losing leaves is just like taking off their clothes at the end of the day. That's very sweet. Yes, that's very sweet. Now, there are different ecosystems that have different cycles than what I talked about. And this is so. But the principle remains the same. New life. Pachamama will never stop making life. You know, people lament about all the species that are dying, but do you hear about all the new species that are being born? The new species of butterflies, of birds. There's a scientist, and I can't remember who it was, but Dear Starshine was telling me about this, that there's a certain kind of whale population that has exploded, has exponentially grown beyond imagination. Where do we hear that story in those narratives? We don't, because it's inconvenient to the point of those narratives. So keep these things in mind. Keep these things in mind. Everything that I listed here, these are all very sophisticated strategies to hold us in our mental prison so we don't step into who we really are as infinite beings in a biosuit with infinite capacities to create in this reality, to work our sacred relationship with these lands. And it is a sacred relationship. Take a garden that has been taken care of by human hands and not machinery, and that garden makes the most unbelievable bounty. Okay? This has been shown to us over and over and over again. You and I have a role. You and I are, well, I'm going to say we're snowflakes, very unique to our expression. And this reality needs that expression, needs us to really show up in our authentic nature, in our truth, so we can do what we're here to do and liberate ourselves in the process. All right, darlings. So thank you, everybody, for being here in these chats. For those of you that have been listening to these for all these years, thank you. I appreciate you being here and supporting. Do support our channel, though, because there's more content that comes out. I'll still be doing things, just like I said, not in this particular format, as in a scheduled time each week. You know, I am a person in flow, and the fact that I'm as consistent as I am with the Lunchtime Chats just is a testament to a person living outside of time and space and still being in the right time and the right place. Very, very stable and reliable energy. But this is because this is true to my nature. Thank you, darling. Thank you. Until next time, whenever that might be, you guys make it a miraculous, beautiful week and or day, whichever you choose to hold in your awareness as you enter your flow. Until next time, darlings. Mwah. Bye-bye.